So look, this is not our first rodeo with hot weather in the city, right? We get this maybe sometimes every year for a couple of days, but regardless, it seems a lot of people are not prepared for whatever reason. So we thought we would do just that and help you prepare if you are going to be outside. Dr. Mitch Shulman, standing by to get us filled in. He's an associate professor in the Department of Emergency Medicine at the McGill Medical School. And of course, you can hear him every morning here on CJD with Andrew Carter at about 7:50. Dr. Mitch, thanks for being here this afternoon. Let me start with, first of all, a couple of things you may experience being out there. You may not even recognize that it's because of the heat. Like, for example, heat exhaustion is what exactly?
So basically, the body becomes overwhelmed, and it's no longer able to keep down its temperature. So your temperature slowly rises. And as that happens, you start feeling miserable and nauseated, maybe a little bit lightheaded, and then you can get really sick and actually pass out and or seize. And you may not realize what's going on or be in a shape to do anything about it, which is why if you're doing anything outdoors, you should always be buddied up with someone so they can keep an eye on you. And if your friend is looking a little bit, you get them out of the direct sunlight and into the shade. You loosen up their clothing, you fan them, and you get emergency services there as quickly as possible. Why? Because once the temperature gets up around 41, 42, brain cells actually start cooking. And so the longer they stay at that high heat, the danger increases dramatically. So you want to cool them down. Don't give them anything to drink. You can throw water at them if you want. They may not be your friend anymore after that. And you can fan them, but you got to get them to help quickly.
All right, so high temperature would be one sure sign that something is going on, right? And then what about the idea of cramping? Does cramping have anything to do with this, or is it a sign?
Sure. So sometimes when you get dehydrated, your muscles go into cramping, but it's not reliable. Right?
Okay.
And you can cramp for all sorts of reasons. So don't count on the fact, I feel unwell, but I'm not cramping. I can't have heat exhaustion. Sorry. And early on in heat exhaustion, you may look flushed and red and hot, but as you pass beyond the danger zone, you may actually paradoxically not look as hot and flushed, in fact, not even be able to sweat because you've overwhelmed the sweat system. That's why if someone starts acting a little bit out of it and they've been in the heat, assume it's heat exhaustion or heat stroke until proven otherwise. You can't get into any harm for cooling them down. You can get into harm if you leave them alone, which brings up a really important point. Keep a close eye on your kids. Keep a close eye on elderly people. Don't leave anyone in a parked car under any circumstances, windows open or not. It doesn't make a difference. Inside of the car can become a pressure cooker within just a few moments. And if you have a next door neighbor or a friend who's elderly and on their own, elderly people, either because of their age or because of the other medical problems they might have or because of the medications they're on, may not realize what's going on. And every year, when there's a heat wave like this, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of unnecessary deaths. We've seen it in Europe, and we'll see it in North America if we don't look out for our neighbors.
One other thing I wanted to ask, is I'd seen this and had not thought of it. If you're feeling very, very thirsty, that an indication?
It could be. Certainly, a thirst is a good sign that you need to drink. Other signs will be that your urine is very dark and concentrated, right? When you wake up first thing in the morning, your urine is dark because you quote-unquote fasted overnight. If you're drinking enough during the day, and don't forget you can get water from your food, from other sources. It doesn't necessarily mean what you're drinking, and how much you'll need will not just be a function of what you're taking in, but the heat outside, the humidity, and your activities. And so your urine should become almost clear, almost transparent by the early afternoon. And if it isn't, you're not drinking enough. Remember, though, the real problem with the heat that we're going to have now is not just the high temperature, it's the high humidity. The most effective way for our body to cool itself down is sweat. And when the air is saturated with water, you can't sweat. You'll feel the sweat all over your body, but instead of evaporating and taking the heat with it, all it's doing is dripping off of you and making you feel miserable. And that's why we get into trouble. Our most effective way of cooling our bodies down can't work. And that's why you've got to get in. And even if it's just an hour of air conditioning, it makes a huge difference. You know, you go to the mall, you go to a movie theater, you do your grocery shopping, whatever it is, you get out of the direct heat for even just an hour will make all the difference in terms of your ability to cope.
All right. So one thing I want to touch on here is the distinction between heat exhaustion and heat stroke, because it sounds to me like heat stroke is obviously much more serious, or is it not?
Yeah, it's the way you start off feeling miserable, you become exhausted, and then you stroke. And basically, heat stroke is when you lose consciousness, have seizures, or become unaware of what's going on. So, and it's not as if there's a stop sign at each point, right? It's sort of a continuum. And you may skip some of the steps and go just right to the stage of being confused, disoriented, and close to have a seizure or to pass out. So don't count on having to go through all those steps. Don't count on the fact that, oh, I'll be warned, I'll be thirsty first, or I'll be warned, I'll get hot and flushed first. You might not. And that's why you take it easy. You give yourself more time to do enough. You make certain that you're drinking a variety of liquids, not just water, because water will just dilute the natural salts inside your body. So a variety of liquids. Don't take salt tablets ever, unless your doctor has specifically told you to, but liquids in whatever form you enjoy, other than alcohol, is a great idea. Keep an eye on your buddy if you're with them. Don't be out at the hottest part of the day if you can avoid it. And then the other thing to remember is even an athlete takes at least 2 weeks of continuous exposure to this type of heat to become acclimatized. So there's no way any of us, is going to be acclimatized. Take it seriously, take it easy, take it slow.
So when you say other liquids, we're guessing something like Gatorade, electrolytes, that's something you would want to have.
Sure, or, a diet soda or tea or coffee or juices. And, cut the juices maybe half and half with water so they're not so heavily sugar-laden. But the idea is a variety of different things. And don't forget there's liquid in foods. Watermelon, many fruit, right?
Right. But definitely no alcohol.
Well, I'm never going to... The truth of the matter is the problem is alcohol, even at low concentrations of alcohol, can make you feel a little bit fuzzy around the edges,
right.
Correct? And how am I going to know if it's the alcohol or the heat?
Or the heat. Okay, well, that's fair. So that may be better not to be drinking alcohol. You mentioned something else. I wonder how many people realize this. There's a big difference between being out on the kind of day we're going to get in the sun and in the shade. A pretty big difference.
Oh, yeah. And that's why the shade is so important. Spending time in the shade is so important. If someone is getting too hot, you put them in the shade if you can't get them into air conditioning. That's why oftentimes when you'll call 911 and Urgence Santé will turn up, their ambulances are air conditioned. So most of the time, by the time you get to me in the emergency room, the cooling has already been done because of the ambulance and its air conditioning. And so that can be literally life-saving. And that's why it's really important. And as I said, I know how tough it can be. Trying, fans, put a bucket or a pan with water and ice cubes in it in front of the fan so it blows cold air over you. Try and spend an hour somewhere air-conditioned every day. Look in on your neighbors. Make sure they're doing okay. Be especially careful for your pets and for little kids as well. And as I said at the start, please never. What I often tell people is, especially at this time of year, if you're taking someone to daycare or whatever it is, even if it's something you regularly do, put something in the back seat so that wherever you get where you're going, you're automatically forced to look into the back seat. And so you have none of these disasters that happen at least once a year of someone forgetting that they had someone in the back seat of the car.
Good advice always. Dr. Mitch, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. I look forward to these.
Take good care.